Hello iPad letterers, it's so nice to see you. In today's Letter With Me video, I'm going to show you 25 different lettering styles that you can use for your bullet journal or planner or for any lettering project, of course. You can also mix and match the different styles, and with so many to choose from, you'll never run out of ideas. We're going to do both monoline and calligraphy lettering styles, and by the end of this video, you'll have a very nice collection of styles to choose from for your next project. I'm going to use that Procreate app on my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but you can also do this with your favorite bullet journaling app such as GoodNotes or Zinnia. To start with, let's create a new canvas. The size that I've chosen for this canvas is going to be 5500 pixels by 4000 pixels. So now I'm going to tap Create, and then what we want to do as well is turn on the drawing guide. So we're going to tap here, and so we have these grid lines available. Now what I recommend is that you edit the drawing guide a little bit and decrease the grid size, and then you might also like to decrease the thickness of the grid a little bit, and then we tap Done, and now we have the grid lines available. The first set of styles that we are going to practice are going to be monoline styles, and you can choose any monoline brush that you have available in your brush library. I really like using the Totally Crispy brush, so this is the one that I'm going to use to start with. The first style we are going to practice is super simple. All I'm doing here is write uppercase letters. So I'm going to write the word Monday for all the different styles so that you can compare what this word looks like in the different styles. As you can see, this is super simple. And then if you wanted to, you could also make little dots here in between the letters. Now, if you think that this might be a little bit too thick, then of course you can decrease the brush size. So let's see what this looks like if you're making it 6 pixels. And ever so slightly smaller. Alright, so then we can of course also just use lowercase letters instead of uppercase letters, which is my normal handwriting style. So this is how I usually write. I really like using quite narrow letters, and then you'll also notice that my X height, which is the space from here to there, is quite high compared to the ascender line and the descender line. This is the style that I'm using for all my journals. Alright, and then of course we can also do a slightly cursive style like this by connecting the letters. So this looks really nice as well. It's super simple, but it always looks cute. And then the next style that I want to show you is going to be a double line style. So we want to decrease the brush size a little bit because we're going to create 2 lines next to each other. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to create the letter like this first, but then we're going to draw in a second line next to the first line. And the charm with this style is that you don't have to be super precise in the way that you create the second line. You want this to look a little bit messy. So the trick here is that you write the letter first, and then you just add another line after you've finished the first letter. And then a very elegant style that I like to do a lot is an extended uppercase letter style. So we're going to really drag the letters out, and we're also not going to make them too high. Next up, we can also add a little embellishment to our letters. So instead of adding 2 lines, now we're only going to add 1 line. We're just going to add a line here. This is almost a little bit of an Art Deco style, and it's quite simple as well, so it doesn't take too much time to do this style. And then another super cute style is a lowercase serif style. So first you just write your letters like you normally would, and then we're going to add little serifs. I recommend that you write the whole word first to make sure that you have equal spacing between all your letters, and then we can add the little serifs like this. And then of course we can do the same thing uppercase as well. So we're going to write Monday again, and again we're going to write the whole word first, and then we're going to add the serifs afterwards. And then next up, I want to show you what happens if you increase the brush size. You can just make the brush thicker or thinner to create a completely different look. And this is a really nice style to practice as well, because this is really nice to combine with a different lettering style. Alright, so now we're going to decrease the brush size again. I'm going to make it about 5%. So now we're going to do a little swirly script font. So with this font here, you can just exaggerate your loops a little bit, and then it looks super cute. Next up is a fan favorite, which is the Extended Script. You can do this with monoline. I'm also going to show you this when we go into the calligraphy style. And I've actually got a whole video where I'm showing how to do this style. But of course, I wanted to include it in this video here because it's such a cute style. And then the next style I want to show you is a block lettering style. So we want to decrease the brush size a little bit. So I've got it set to 3% now. So now what we're going to do is create the outline of the letters like this. And this can actually be a little bit tricky to do, especially if you're not used to this and you've not done this so much. But I'm going to show you a little trick in a second of how you can make this much easier for yourself. It's a little bit wonky. So but now what we can do is we can add text. So we can add text and we type the word Monday. And then we're going to change the font. So you want to make it quite bold and then make it a little bit bigger. And then we are going to decrease the opacity of this layer and we are going to add a new layer. And now we can trace the outline of the letters here. And you might say, oh, well, you know, this is a bit cheating. And I don't think so. I think this is a strategy that you can use to practice the outlines of the letters. And, you know, you're still drawing these yourself. So it's not like you're just copying something or you're just using the font. You know, I still think using the font is a very fine strategy as well. But this is quite nice. So you can practice this and then your letters, you know, they still look hand-drawn, but they just look a little bit neater. So now when you are tracing these letters, I recommend that you really stick to the outside of the shape. Especially the Y is much easier when you trace it. And then you can turn your layer off. And so this looks so much nicer. And then I also want to show you a little bit of a bonus style. So what we're going to do now is duplicate this layer. And then we're going to use the second layer to create a shadow. So what we want to do first is actually fill these shapes. So now to fill the shapes, all you have to do is drag the color swatch into the shape to fill them like this. And then we are going to ever so slightly offset the second layer. You might also want to drag this below your original lettering layer. So now we're going to turn the snapping and the magnetics off to make it a bit easier to drag this. And then we can offset this. And then we can connect the edges here. All right, so now I've shown you all the monoline styles. And you can see even just with a monoline brush, you have all these different options. But now let's add in the pressure sensitivity of the amazing Apple Pencil with some of the pressure sensitive brushes. And the brush that I'm going to choose for this is an Extended Script brush. I've made this for the iPad Let's Together November 2020 practice sheets, but you can also use the Extended Script brush that comes with my Keep lettering set, which is quite similar to this one, or of course any of your other favorite lettering brushes that you have. The brush size I'm going to start with is set to 11%. And so for this first style, I want to make the start of the word thicker. And this is super simple because you can create the letter in one go and you don't have to do 2 strokes. And then of course, lowercase as well. So now you can choose whether you want to make all your downstrokes thick or not. So this is up to you, depending on the style that you are going for. And then of course, the modern calligraphy style. So this is very similar to this, except we are going to connect the letters and we are going to write at a bit of an angle. And I'm making all my downstrokes thick and then all my upstrokes are thin. And now let's do the Extended Script as well. So I'm going to decrease the brush size. You want this to be a little bit smaller. I've set it to 6% now, so let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to create the thin upstroke and then thick downstroke and then the extension like this. And this is the script style that I've made this brush for. So you can see this is coming out very nicely, of course. And then what you can do as well, if you don't like that the X height is quite a lot larger than the ascender here, you can actually make this a little bit smaller as well. So what this looks like is like this. So we're going to keep this reasonably small, and then any letter that has an ascender or descender, I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit like this. And then with the Y as well. So we're going to take this a little bit lower than I would normally take it. And then what we can do as well is make extended letters. So now I'm just going to write the letter into the box here again, but I'm going to leave a little space. And I'm going to make the letters ever so slightly wider. And then next up is actually one of my favorite lettering styles. I'm just going to make the brush a little bit bigger again. And that's quite a modern calligraphy style. So it looks like this, and you think, oh wow, this is a little bit wild, but I actually really love this style of lettering. And you can see here that I'm not connecting all the letters, but what's really important with this style is that you have a very nice contrast between the thick and the thin letters. And so you want to have some thicker parts and some thinner parts and mix it up throughout the letters like this. So now we're going to practice a more traditional calligraphy style, and you want this to be quite thin. So we're going to create a thin upstroke and then a thin downstroke, and then all the downstrokes are going to be thick and the upstrokes are going to be thin. But you can see, because we've decreased the size of the brush, all the strokes are relatively fine, but this creates a very nice appearance of your words. And this is the more traditional modern calligraphy style that you might have seen before. All right, and then next up we have a style that is an uppercase serif style, and I've actually learned this from my friend Amanda O'Neill. And so the way it goes is we're going to write the letters like this, and then we're going to add serifs. So this is a little bit similar to the serif style that I've showed you for the monoline letters. But the trick here is to really create this variation between the thick and the thin portion of your stroke in quite an exaggerated way. So it's quite difficult to get this right in the first go around. So what I recommend if you do this is actually tidy this up and go back to your monoline brush, and then we can tidy this up a little bit. You can also adjust the serifs and just make them a little bit tidier here. You might like to round them off a little bit. This is a very nice style. It just takes a bit more time to master and also to perfect if you choose to maybe write your headers like this. I definitely don't recommend to use this for a longer lettering piece, unless you can pretty much write it in the first go around, but this takes a little while to do. So for a word or two, I think this is an amazing style, but maybe not for longer pieces. But I want to show you some bonus styles as well. And these are actually only achievable if you have special Procreate brushes, but I wanted to show you anyway because I think they're super fun. So the first one we're going to use is the Stippling brush. This is part of my fancy lettering brush pack, and this just creates a super cool effect like this. And so the trick here with this lettering style is that you write it all in one go, and then you have this automated stippling effect, which is super cute. And this is definitely a style for your journal that you might like to use. And then next up, I want to show you another brush out of this collection. It's called Triple Line, and this creates a similar style to the double line lettering that I've shown you here, except it's all automated. So you can just write your word and then it'll create all these lines automatically for a messy lettering style that looks super nice. And the trick with this brush is that the slower you go, the closer together the lines are. So if I write really slowly, the lines are quite close together. But then if I go really fast, you can see how the lines diverge with speed. And then I also wanted to show you one of my all-time favorite brushes. I love this brush so much, and that is the Fountain Pen. This is part of the Rainbow collection brush set. So there's that Fountain Pen Rainbow brush here. So what we need to do with this brush is we need to choose the right colors. So the first color is black, and then the second one needs to be a little bit gray. Of course, you can choose any color that you would like, but it actually looks really nice if it is black and gray. So now let me show you what this looks like. So this brush creates this super cool fountain pen effect, and I really like using this brush. All right, and there you have it. These are 25 different lettering styles for you to practice with. Now, of course, I'm super curious to hear which one is your favorite. Definitely let me know in the comment which one you prefer the most. I really hope you found this video useful. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And then I'm also going to bloop up another couple of videos with different lettering styles, especially that watercolor lettering style, which is one of my favorites, and I haven't actually mentioned it in this video. So I recommend that you go and watch that video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.